heroic swimmer. He pulled people out from the bottom. He pulled 20 people out of a sunken trolleybus, literally risking his own life. His fantastic endurance and strength allowed him to pull out 20 people out of 46. He pulled people out from the bottom, but he paid for this feat with his own life, almost completely. Thousands of people know the name Shavash Karapetyan, but his story is not just the story of an athlete. It's a story of a man who once dove into the water and came out of it a completely different person. Before the tragedy, Karapetyan was a sports legend. He was a 17-time world champion in underwater swimming. He held 11 world records. He was a European champion who had virtually no equal. But fate had a test in store for him that had nothing to do with sports. The irony is that as a child, he was afraid of water. When his parents took him to the pool, his heart literally sank into his heels. But Shavash had a rare character. If he started something, he saw it through to the end. He trained as if every workout was his last chance. For example, he could run 300 kilometers in 10 days with a 25-kilogram backpack. His coaches said his endurance was almost superhuman. It was this endurance that would one day save dozens of lives. September 16, 1976. Yerevan. The heat was almost plus 40 degrees. Early in the morning, Karapetyan was running a training cross-country race with his brother and coach near the Yerevan Reservoir. And suddenly, they saw something they could never forget. A trolley bus full of people lost control, and at full speed veered off the road straight into the water. The vehicle sank almost instantly. Only the metal horns remained on the surface. Inside were dozens of passengers. No one even had time to understand what had happened. Shavash understood something else. If he didn't act right now, people would die. He didn't wait for the rescuers. He didn't think about the risk. He just took off his sneakers and dove in. The water was murky. Silt rose from the bottom, and visibility became zero. The trolley bus lay at a depth of 8 meters, nose down. Shavash found a window by touch and broke it with his feet. The glass shards cut his feet until they bled. But he kept going. He dove again and again, each time pulling a person out of the cabin, each dive almost without air, each time through the sharp edges of the broken window. On the shore, his brother and coach pulled people out of the water and tried to revive them. Rescuers arrived at the scene of the tragedy. They even brought scuba gear, but something incredible happened. There was no air in the tanks. And then it became clear. Only one person could save these people. Shavash dived for about 20 minutes straight, again and again. His lungs were burning. His body was cut by glass. He almost lost consciousness, but he still went underwater again, and again, and again. When the rescuers finally stopped him, it was too late. He began to pull out people who were already dead. Then Shavash's brother dived after him and pulled him up from the bottom. Shavash was unconscious. He himself nearly died. But by that point, he had managed to pull out 20 people. Later, rescuers admitted what Karapetyan did was practically impossible for a human being. But the true price of his feat became known later. Pneumonia, blood poisoning, multiple wounds, and 40 days in a coma. The doctors were sure he would never return to normal life. But Karapetyan did the impossible again. He returned to sports and even set another world record. After that, He retired from sports at the age of 23. But the most amazing thing happened later. Almost no one knew about his feat. The story of the sunken trolley bus was hardly covered at the time. There were only short notes in the newspapers. The name of the man who saved people was not mentioned at all. Only years later did the country learn the truth. And then thousands of people began to write him letters of gratitude. Even the legendary actress, Ina Ronevskaya, sent him a postcard. But Karapetyan himself said, "The best reward is the people who survived." Later, a minor planet was even named after him. But for those 20 people, he will forever remain not an athlete, but a man who once dove into the water to save the lives of strangers and pulled them out from the bottom.